Well, here we are again.
You look nice today.
Thank you. So do you.
Thanks.
I'm especially fond of your shoes.
You picked them out.
I know. I love them. So I thought it would be appropriate if we talked on a topic today that's kind of like fresh in our brains right now, because I know we've kicked it into a little higher gear around our health and wellness. But I've been doing a lot of studies, and there's a direct correlation of health and wealth.
Okay.
And they're very intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yeah, I do. I think this is actually a philosophy you've had for a long time. I mean, I've heard you preach this for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, memories are coming to my mind right now of people you've had this conversation with in the workplace.
Yeah.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. So I am a firm believer that health and wealth are like, it's only one letter difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Health, wealth.
Yep.
It's one letter that separates the two.
Yeah.
But they're so intertwined, and not just in the way we approach them as human beings, but the success or lack thereof. They go hand in hand, in my opinion. Now, taking it a step further, and I know that we've had these conversations because we've owned multiple companies where we've hired people, and you've always almost kind of been offended by my approach sometimes, which is that I always...
I'm getting a little anxiety.
I know, I can tell, I can see it. But
I feel my heart rate racing.
When I interview someone, right?
Yeah.
When I interview someone, I look at the overall health.
Yeah.
Because it affects so many things, and especially in a leadership role. If someone's going to manage people and they can't manage themselves, to me, that's not a manager. You're not a leader. I certainly wouldn't follow you if the boat was going down, because you would sink, right?
Yeah.
So I know, it's the 8 in me, but I just think it is such an attribute that we don't put enough emphasis on, especially in leadership. But now we're talking more about like how it correlates with the money, but you know where I'm going with this.
Well, even though I don't necessarily always agree with how you communicate it, I fully agree with the premise. Yeah. There is a connection with how someone takes care of themselves and how that translates into their career. I mean, let's face it. When I hear wealth, I think I've been on this kick lately of needing to define things. Before I'll discuss them, I need to define them. And I think, when we think of wealth, we think of money, right? We think of rich, we think of money. Like, we're wired. However, the English language is actually a very simplistic language. And in other languages, it's more fully encompassing. And, wealth to me is so much more than just money. It's a fullness in relationships, in financial well-being, in energy levels, in experiences. And so to me, like, that's wealth. It's a fullness of life, right? And so if you look at it in that context, that when you focus on your health, and I'm thinking we're talking about what you eat, what you drink, and the activity level you have, then it's going to translate into a more optimum fullness of life. I stand on that, and I believe that.
And I think health can even trickle over into how healthy your friendships are, how healthy the places you go are, how healthy your sleeping patterns are. So I think even carrying it into every single area of your life to fully define health, which I do believe is wealth, by the way, and I keep saying that to you lately, like, it means everything, because if you can't function as a human being, or you're dealing with ailments or things that are holding you back, then to me, it's like, that's the ultimate, I'm broke.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, look at Steve Jobs. I mean, he one of the wealthiest men in the world.
Yeah.
And a brilliant man. But when he didn't have his health, he didn't have anything.
He lost everything.
He lost it all. And it's, I mean, especially in the season we're all just emerging out of.
Yeah.
And it's, I think it shined a light on how valuable our physical, mental and emotional health is, because we saw very quickly how fragile it was.
That's right. And I read a startling statistic the other day that said 2 out of 5 people in debt are suffering from health issues that are directly correlated with the stress caused by the financial situation they're in.
Interesting.
Yeah. And if you think about that, like they're talking about ailments such as anxiety, depression, sleeping issues, relational problems. And this is all spurred by the debt that they're carrying, right? Which is triggering these health things, which, by the way, is just instituting more debt because they're spending more medically to treat the ailments that were caused by the debt to begin with.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
So in your mind, what constitutes health?
Well, I mean, I think someone taking full responsibility of themselves, first and foremost, above anything else, to me, is a great sign of health. You know, I'm sure you've heard of this 75-day hard. I've talked about it before.
I've heard it.
And I'm so fascinated with it, and not because I love to work out, so I wouldn't have a problem with the workouts, but it's the actual discipleship that he carries through with not just working out, with whatever diet you choose, with the gallon of water a day, with reading 10 pages in a book that you choose. The consistency in every single area is sharpening the skill set that I believe carries through to everywhere in your entire life.
That's really good.
Yeah. So I'm fascinated with the fact that, like, true health to me is being able to be disciplined enough in every single area of your life to where things aren't really hard to do. You're just pretty much on autopilot. It's like a meal. I say that all the time to you. Like, for me, working out's like a meal. And if I miss a meal, I am hangry.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is been such a challenge for me. I mean, really since high school, the exercise piece of the equation.
Why? You just don't like it? Or?
Well,
it's okay.
I don't know. I'd have to weigh that.
Yeah.
To know exactly what it is. It's the discipline. I don't like feeling like I have to do something. I want to be able to choose. So there's a little bit of a rebellious spirit there. And it lives more there than anywhere else. But, I have watched you for 20 years now with your workout regimen. And I'm just marvel at your consistency. I mean, I could say in 20 years, I've seen that. I don't even know I could say, take any sicknesses out of the way, but normally you exercise through illness. Take that out of the way, and I bet you haven't missed 2 weeks in 20 years. And so you have inspired me to be better about my physical activity. But what drives you to be able to be that disciplined and staying on a workout routine? Because that's gold.
Well, for me, I think I saw it. Like, I started very young. When I was like in the 6th grade, my mom would take us out and we'd walk like 3 miles at night after my brothers went to bed. And so I saw this pattern of behavior, and I knew how I felt when I did that at a young age. But then later on in life, I think that there's so many things that are thrown at you, and it's stressors, depression. Like, I had, Sable, we started having kids. And it's easy to get wrapped up in that real quick into where it can pull you down.
Oh, yeah.
And so what I found was that working out for me was actually an escape. And so I knew what it did mentally. It gave me the capacity to deal with stress better. It allowed me to think clearer. I could go into work and feel confident leading a company because I felt good myself about time I was taking to take care of myself.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it was just like I knew that end result, it meant more to me. So I never want to skip because I knew, and you've seen me.
Yeah.
If I don't work out, it's bad.
Yeah, no, it's definitely has a balancing effect on everything, your hormonal levels, your mood, your just your ability to be more balanced. I think, I've seen that. And I think I've had an easier time with the diet side of the equation or the nutrition side of the equation. I don't want to use the D word, diet, but the nutrition side than I have the exercise side.
I agree.
And I've always enjoyed the challenge of eating clean, and I don't always succeed, but I see the stark difference between when I put food in my body that is clean and is intended for fuel,
right,
versus when I put food in my body that's intended for taste. When I put food in my body that's intended for taste, it sends me to the couch. And it's like, oh my gosh, what have I done? And when I put food in my body that's intended for fuel, it's like go time. And I feel great. And I don't have the stomach ache or the headache. And so, I think a big part of this health is wealth conversation is about what we put in our systems too. And you mentioned water. I've been on a big water kick lately. I think it's the most underrated of all things that we talk about in the area of health. I think it's more important than diet. It's more important than exercise. We're made up of 70% water, and the quality of the water we drink is imperative to our wellness. So, that's why I started the water bottle service and getting the mountain water delivered now. And I've felt better since I've started drinking something other than tap water. I don't know about you, but
I mean, I think I've always drank because I fill it up here.
Yeah. You've been a bottled water person.
Yeah. I don't really drink from the sink.
I have. I've drank from the sink for years. Yeah. I never even thought twice about it. I'm feeling better with the other.
But what's hard to, it's hard for some people, I think, because they're caught in the debt trap. And one, they're working so much to pay off their bills, they don't have time. Or they tell themselves they don't have time to work out, right?
Yeah.
Or they can't afford, or so they tell themselves they can't afford to eat healthy. And it's not about eating organic, and it's not about, having a membership at LA Fitness.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I mean, I see what you're doing right now, which I think is pretty cool, how you even got started on this.
Yeah, the 100 miles in 30 days.
Yeah.
Well, Dale, your brother, did 100 miles in 30 hours, and they ran through the night. And I was just so mesmerized watching that that I just got inspired. Like, well, if he can do 100 miles in 30 hours, I could probably do 100 miles in 30 days.
Yeah.
So I embarked on that and set the goal much lower. But I think that's important to set realistic goals.
Well, it absolutely is. In fact, I'm going to share 5 different areas that correlate health and wealth and things that you can put into practice and go on the journey at the same time. So I really want to encourage our listeners today that if you're struggling with credit card debt, don't just take on your credit card debt right now. Take on credit card debt and the health, like simultaneously. So I want to give you these facts. This is really interesting. First of all, healthy people miss fewer days of work, which we know that, right? Yeah. I actually offer a Peloton paid day here at Jackie. So for anybody who does Peloton, gets their red dot every single day, they get a paid day off the following month.
Okay.
Now, there's a reason I do it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a reason. Well, because healthier people, they're going to perform better. They're going to treat your customers better. They're going to be at work on time. They're going to be more confident in their delivery.
They're going to feel better about themselves.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
that all
Jackie,
translates.
Right. The clothes are going to look great on them. So they get a Peloton paid day.
That's cool.
Healthy people are more productive, which I think is, I've seen that.
Energy levels.
I know it.
Yeah.
When I haven't worked out, even my mind, like I can't even focus. So I do believe that they are more productive.
Stagnation breeds stagnation and activity breeds activity, right? So it's when we're more active, it inherently generates more juice.
Yep.
It's actually counterintuitive. You would think the more activity you do, you would be tired.
Exactly.
And the more you rest, the more energy you'd have. It's actually, I have not found that to be true.
No.
The more I sit around, the more I want to sit around.
I agree.
And the more active I am, I find myself going well into the night, 11, 12 o'clock.
Yep.
I'm like, what am I still doing awake?
Yeah, which is interesting because, when you think of just what people with credit card debt are dealing with, they're depressed, they're sitting, they're thinking, they're playing the tape through their head. Whereas if they got moving, if they got active, one, it's going to squash all of that anxiety and everything they're experiencing. But they're probably going to spend less.
Yeah.
They're probably going to spend less. And just like you're doing, you're just going outside and walking 3-4 miles a day.
Yeah.
It's something.
I've been jogging. Yeah.
I meant jogging.
Yeah. I mean, I'm holding that banner high, let me tell you.
So listen, and this is a fact. this isn't an Amber thing. These are facts that I pulled.
Okay, you're defending yourself before you say it. That's not a
Healthy
good sign.
people look better, which pays better. And I have to be honest with you. I tend to agree.
Yeah.
Like, for good or for bad, if you're healthy and you are making an impression when you go into an interview, healthy people will look better, which pays better.
I mean, it's not politically correct.
I'm sorry.
But if you look around our world, I think you could make a case statistically that is 100% true.
It is true.
So that's just a fact of the reality of the world we live in.
That's right.
Yeah.
So for those who are in debt, if the only thing they could control, is their own personal health and the way they present, jump on it.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost you anything to do it.
Wow, you just hit on something actually really rich, and that is that a lot of our circumstances in life are out of our control. We have absolutely no control over what other people do, what other people say, how we got here, medical situations we got in. We don't have any control over that.
Right.
We don't have any control over our bosses, our coworkers, market dynamics. But if we just focus on what we can control, then we are changing the one person that really matters in the equation, and that's ourselves.
That's right.
So this health thing falls squarely in the box of this is something I can control.
And if you know you can make more money, if you knew you could get paid more, just because you present better, you function better, you're more productive, and all of those common denominator is your overall health, why wouldn't you at that point?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
That's good.
The healthier you are, the happier you are. I agree 100% with that. I think that when you meet someone who is not a happy person, they're probably not a healthy person. They probably are not active. So just getting active is a healthier person is always a happier person.
Well, there's a physiological component to that. When we exercise, there are chemicals released in our brain, endorphins, dopamine. These are feel-good chemicals. And so, when you get that natural rush from exercise, I mean, it's a charge.
Yeah.
It's nature's drug. So why wouldn't we want to access it?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, when you look at how much it costs people to be unhealthy, they actually did a study and they found that someone who's 25 years old, if he's buying a pack of cigarettes a day, over 40 years, that's over $420,000 he's probably spending on cigarettes. If he put the same amount of money into a bank account at an 8% return rate, can you just imagine where he would be 20 years later rather than nothing? He would have exponentially grown that same money that he wasted because of an unhealthy habit.
Yeah. Yeah,
so you can see how it costs you.
I mean, that money would double every 9 years. So it'd be about $1.6, $1.8 million at 8%. And, but that also translates to vaping, not just packs of cigarettes,
any
type of
unhealthy activity, gambling,
habit,
anything, like even going to Starbucks every day.
Sorry. And then the health piece, what is it costing you? What is it costing your health? I guess, if someone said that to me about, hey, it's a lot more expensive to live a healthy lifestyle, I'd say, if you think health is expensive, try being sick.
That's right.
And we've seen that.
Right.
We've seen that on people's credit reports. We've seen the medical judgments, and it's not pretty.
Yeah.
So long term, you're gonna pay.
That's right.
One way or the other.
That's right.
I'd rather pay and feel better along the way.
Which that's an important point you bring up, because a lot of people that I've talked to this week asked me about medical debt. And while we do that, it is something that you have complete control over to a certain extent. So really take that on, because it sits on your credit and affects it negatively, just like any other unsecured credit card debt. Simply because you chose not to live a healthy lifestyle.
Well, and stuff happens.
Totally.
Stuff happens. But medical debt is actually a pretty common thing we see that has sent people into downward spirals. And it's not always the individual that is in trouble's health.
Right.
A lot of times it's medical debt from a spouse or a child or even a parent that they've had to try to help with. And so, that's the type of hardship that's the currency of hardship that we leverage in order to help people, And so the goal is to avoid medical debt to the largest extent we can by being as healthy as we can.
That's right.
And trust God with the rest.
That's right. So I'm going to give you 5 tools.
Okay.
And we're going to give these to our listeners too, that they can use to work on their health and work on their wealth all at the same time.
Okay.
The first one is start small. Set realistic goals around your health and your wealth. So give us an example of that.
So as far as the health goes, I think that a good place to start is with starting to restrict diet. This is just my own personal opinion.
Yeah, smaller portions.
I'm not a nutritionist, but even intermittent fasting is a great place to start because it's a very quick way to reduce your appetites. And the human appetite is insatiable. And I'm not just talking about food, right? So it's a great way to say, hey, body, flesh, appetite, you're not in charge. And you've got to break that cycle of who's in charge.
Right.
And so you've got to submit that. And I think a great way to do that is starting with intermittent fasting. So a small goal may be, I'm going to start not having anything until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, except for water.
Yeah.
And so that's a good way. I think with, to start something fresh with the exercise, I mean, I pretty much started from scratch when I did the 100 miles in 30 days. I think it's totally reasonable. It's like 3 miles a day, and it's, anybody can pretty much put their mind around that. So maybe that's a good starting place.
And that's good for the health. So what's the start small in the financial realm? So when we talk about start small, let's say, here's the goal in the health. What would you recommend for the wealth side?
So on the wealth side, it is the first thing that comes to mind is save.
Yeah.
So
and
there's
start
2
small
ways
with the
to
goal.
save. There's 2 ways to save, right? That is cut expenses or increase revenue.
Right.
So and if you do both, it has a compounding effect. So the best way to start small, and it depends, right? But 10%.
Right.
Say 10%.
But if they can't do 10%, maybe they can't. Let's start even smaller.
Start even smaller. Anything.
3%.
It really is here's the question you ask yourself. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do a budget, which most people don't want to do.
Yeah.
But if you look at what are my expenses and what's coming in and what's going out, right? And then say, now what can I cut out of here? And maybe I can go find a way to earn a little bit more money. That will then allow you to say, I think I can contribute X% monthly and start saving. And that's the essence of it, is establish a goal.
Okay, so that's one. Start small. Number 2, put goals on autopilot. And which I think is a great
You got to explain that one
suggestion.
To me. Yeah.
Because you know what? If left to our own demise, then we probably won't follow through if we don't have a pattern of following through.
Okay.
So what that means is either work out with someone, so there's an accountability, set up the small amount that you're going to be saving every month to be automatically put over.
Oh, yeah, that's
Don't
good.
even let it hit the account. Have your employer.
Set it and forget it?
That's right. Set it and forget it to where it's literally on autopilot. Okay, number 3, pace yourself.
Okay. I definitely need some help in this area.
Yeah,
you know
I know
how I
you
am.
do.
I'm like all in
and then all out,
Yep,
right? And I think so many people are guilty of that, whether it's with money or with their health.
Yeah.
If they can't give it 150%, they're not going to give it anything, and then they're discouraged.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like, I'll start when ...
Right.
Right?
So pacing yourself, I think, is such a great tool, not just with your health, but also with your wealth.
Okay.
Even if you have expendable income, don't kill yourself to put it all in savings. Enjoy what you're making, but pace yourself and just stay the course. And then you're going to see the results. It's the showing up every day. It's the consistency. It's the discipline. But pacing yourself is an important piece for longevity.
Yeah, that's good.
4th is avoid quick fixes. And you?
Yeah.
I'm talking to you.
I'm the master quick fixes.
You are.
I mean, I like
can't
shortcuts.
stand them.
I mean, who doesn't like shortcuts?
I don't.
You don't like shortcuts?
No, not all the time.
Well, I
don't
like
like
shortcuts, but the problem is they don't have any staying power, because they really don't change behaviors.
Right.
And and that's what ultimately needs to be established is good long-term healthy behaviors.
Right.
And so when I take shortcuts, I've done every weight loss medication. I mean, short of going in and getting a tummy tuck, I've done it. And so, and believe me, it's still on my radar. But none of it has any staying power.
Right.
None of it.
Well, and that's why that discipline is such a big deal. But not only that,
I hate that
so that's
D
in the
word.
health side. That's in the health side.
Yeah.
But even in the wealth side, think about the quick fixes. People try to gamble.
Mm-hmm.
They play day trade, stock market, which is all great. Like our kids do that. But you still have to have money set aside.
It takes discipline and consistency.
Discipline. You don't want to put all your eggs in that quick fix.
No, you're 100%
basket.
right. So it does equate to wealth too.
And then the fifth and last is check your progress regularly. And not only check it, like reward yourself. I think we get so caught up. I know I do, especially in the health. I'm never going to hit exactly where I want to hit. Like it's never good enough. I've got to work harder. I've got to do more miles. I've got to do a longer ride.
And that's not healthy either.
It's not healthy.
Yeah.
And so it's being able to check your progress and see, hey, I did do this for 30 days. Or, hey, the scale went down, and celebrate those wins. And, hey, I did save. Or, hey, I did pay this debt off.
Yeah.
And you know what? Reward yourself.
That's good.
Because if not, you lose sight.
So check regularly.
Yeah.
It could be monthly or it could be quarterly, something like that.
Yep.
And then celebrate the victories.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think when you attack your health and your wealth with the same intensity at the same time, I believe something happens there.
That's good. I believe it.
Yeah. So hopefully our listeners will take it and run with it. No pun intended.
That's good.